All right, people. So Jai Opetaia knocks out Huseyin Cinkara in the 8th round. He did that yesterday. Now, this fight, it went under the radar for a lot of people. I was aware Jai Opetaia was fighting in the month of December. I wasn't sure if it was this weekend or next weekend. I knew he was fighting. So even I was kind of like, well, I know he's fighting, but I just wasn't sure when. There was a lot of people online who didn't even realize he was fighting at all. And the interesting thing was, now, again, I could be maybe making something out of nothing with this, I don't know. But Jai Opetaia is a matchroom fighter. Now, I get it. Eddie Hearn was at Monaco. He had a show on in Monaco, so it makes sense. He's obviously not going to, he's going to prioritise his Monaco show over going halfway across the world to Australia. I get that. But the fact of the matter is that this wasn't even on DAZN. This was on UFC Fight Pass, I believe. Because I remember yesterday, I was out and about yesterday, but I remember thinking, oh, I want to catch this fight. So I went into DAZN. I was like, hang on a minute. I know Jai Opetaia is fighting because I seen posts online about it, but I'm like, where's this fight? Is it not on? No, it was on UFC Fight Pass, which is strange because, again, this is a matchroom fighter, so you would imagine he would be fighting. So now again, it could be nothing. Maybe it's just a case of DAZN just didn't have maybe just have it in their schedule to put. I don't know, making something out of nothing with that one. But let's talk about this fight. Jai Opetaia. So one thing I've been worried about with Opetaia is that it's not his fault at the end of the day. He is seemingly being frozen out by the champions, the likes of Badu Jack, the likes of Zurdo Ramirez fighting Dave Benavidez. Opportunities there to fight Jai Opetaia to unify seems not to be the case. So what Opetaia's had to do is he's had to face either mandatories or he's had to take voluntaries against, let's be frank, nondescript opponents. He's fought the likes of Elizara, who we know was domestic level, Jordan Thompson, similar. He fought that guy, Claudio Squa, I think his name was, the Italian guy, back in May or June. So he's kind of been resigned to just taking these voluntary defences. And, we know Jai Opetaia is very, very good. We know he's better than a lot of these guys. And the worry there is that maybe he'll have to go to heavyweight to find these big fights without really fulfilling his full potential at cruiserweight and becoming undisputed or at least unifying. And also fighting these guys who are, let's be frank, although the guy he fought, Huseyin Cinkara, I think I say his name, was actually decent. He came to win. He really came to give it a go. And he gave Opetaia a scare in there. I'll talk about that now in a sec. My worry is that the longer he's doing this, the more, I guess, kind of stagnant he's going to be, because certainly in this fight, Opetaia was winning handily. He had a scare. He got hit a good bit. If you see his face after this fight, it was marked up, and he was hurt in this fight as well. It has me worried that is he fighting lower level opponents, just getting so used to it that he's just going in there. Obviously, he's training very hard, but is he really, fully on it, fully focused? And is that going to be something that's going to happen moving forward? I hope not. Let's talk about this fight. So I watched this fight then this morning. It was interesting. Opetaia first round came out, was looking to land, throw the big left hand, letting the shots go. Offensively, Jai Opetaia is an absolute juggernaut. He's just so fun offensively. Defensively, however, he leaves a lot to be desired, certainly in this fight. So round number 2, he was letting the left hand go. It was going to head and body, seemingly all going according to plan. And then Cinkara, he basically landed a big right hand, looked like a right hand on Jai Opetaia. And Jai Opetaia, right on the face. Now, I think the original one he landed, because it was a 2 kind of shot piece. I think the original one he landed, more so Opetaia's head snapping back, as opposed to him being necessarily hurt, was the kind of big sight. But then he landed, I think it was either a right hook or a left hook, it was one of them anyway. And Jai Opetaia, noticeably, his legs buckled. And he's lucky he didn't touch like a glove touchdown, because the angle was a bit hard to see. It didn't look like a glove touchdown or anything like that, but he was in trouble. Now, saying that, he showed good recovery instincts, he held, and he finished the round reasonably strong. But if you look at the scorecards for this fight, they were all 69-64 in Opetaia's favour. I would imagine that's the only round you can give to Cinkara. Or how do you say Cinkara? I think I say Huseyin Cinkara. I think is how you say his name. I heard it so many times, but it just slips my mind. That was probably the only round you can give to him. Round 4 was an interesting round, because that was a round in which Opetaia was really starting to come on strong. He was starting to land that uppercut almost at will, and he actually hurt Cinkara in there. But then, inexplicably, and very strange, the clapper went at like a minute and 10 seconds of round number 4. And you're thinking, why is the 10-second clapper going with over a minute to go? And as soon as that clock went under a minute, bell goes. And I think this shows that kind of fighters can go into autopilot mode because you're essentially after fighting 2 minutes, which was a 2 minute round. And as soon as the bell went, the fighters were just like, done. It's so robotic in one sense that they're just so in autopilot mode that we're looking at this thinking, there's a minute to go here. What the? And we have seen that in some occasions when there's very much the house fire, and this wasn't the case. I think this was maybe just a misunderstanding or a mistake on the timekeeper's behalf. There have been instances in fights. Badu Jack, I forget what fight it was. I think he fought that guy, Richard Rivera, or something like that a couple of years ago. I think it was on the Joshua Usyk undercard, the second fight, where I think they ended a round early or they let a round go on late. It was one or the other. And it was kind of obvious that's why they were doing it. And I've seen it on a couple of shows over there. I remember when Ruslan Shagayev was WBA regular champion when he fought Lucas Brown. There was a round in which he hurt Brown and they let the round go on really, really long. They let it go on like an extra 30 seconds. Problem was, he gassed himself for the next round. So when Brown started coming on strong, they ended the round with like a minute to go. So it has happened before, but normally you say it's a little bit dodgy. This, I think it was just a complete misunderstanding. Jai Opetaia, his opponent was game. I will say that he was definitely game and he was landing on Opetaia, but Opetaia, the writing was on the wall. He was starting to find his gear, and in round 8, it reminded me a little bit. They were both devastating. I think the Elizara knockout, the visual of Zara basically flying through the air and landing on the ropes was something to behold. Whereas this was kind of similar, where he landed a big left hand, very similar. Reminded me very similar to the knockout he got against Elizaro. This one was probably more devastating. Because his opponent, Shakayev, he literally just went bang, down, out. He was sleeping. I mean, thank God he was okay. He got to his feet after a couple. He was down for a good couple of minutes. It was immediately apparent that this fight was done. It was over. So thank God the opponent was okay. But it was a heavy, heavy knockdown. It obviously shows the punching power that Opetaia has. And when the sequence came, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Opetaia in there. And it's just so reminiscent. Obviously nowhere near as good. But the movement, you can see Usyk. You can see elements of Usyk's game in that with the movement, the feints, throwing that left hand at the end was just a thing of beauty. And yeah, highlight reel knockout. Now, Opetaia got a scare in there, it has to be said. It wasn't all one-way traffic. And that's, again, a worry. And maybe that, like the knockout, will obviously, set the division alight. But maybe the performance, given the fact that he was hurt in there, he was getting lit up a little bit at times in there, he was getting hit and certainly getting tagged, will maybe get the likes of Zurdo Ramirez and think, do you know what? If his opponent can do that, all right, I'm better than him. I can do that too. And he probably could, to be honest with you, but I think we'll get a much better Opetaia if that's the case. For Opetaia, it's unfortunate he's being frozen out. There's no other way to say it. That's exactly what's happening. I hope that we can get these unification fights on next year. I really do. If not, then it's unfortunate. He's probably going to have to move the heavyweight before he wants to. Now, I think Opetaia will do well at heavyweight. I don't think he'll do like Usyk level well. I think that Opetaia's defense is not as strong as Alexander Usyk. I think that he's nowhere near as talented as Alexander. He's a very talented fighter, Jai Opetaia, very talented. But he's clearly not as talented. And I think that he'll have success there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you look at, give you an example. You look at someone like Dylan White. Obviously, Jai Opetaia, I think, would knock Dylan White's spark out. I think he beat the likes of Derek Chisora, people like that now. Even if you look at the top 10, F.A. Jagba, that'd be a really interesting fight. So there's definitely fights there for a heavyweight for Jai Opetaia. But I would like to see, he wants to become undisputed at Cruiserweight, and I'd like to see him fulfill that. It's just a shame that the champions, they don't seem to want that. And one thing I've noticed, and people have said this, is that, it's Opetaia's fault. He's not been promoted correctly. It's not Opetaia's fault that the champions don't want to fight him at the end of the day. And there was Riyadh season logos all around this show. So it's not like Opetaia, is, frozen out by the Saudis or anything like that. I'm sure the Saudis would be willing to put up plenty of money to get Opetaia these big fights. I'm sure Eddie Hearn, if they're still working together, whatever, would be willing. I think that these champions just see Opetaia as just such a dangerous fight, and they are going to want an absolute king's ransom. And unfortunately for that amount of money, which you're hearing some of them are saying, we want this much, that much, you're like, what the hell? It's not going to happen. But it's going to be like that for most fighters. So, I don't think Opetaia has been mismanaged or mispromoted or anything like that. I think it's unfortunate he is just that good. And he's that dangerous, and he just looks so mealy up. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's he's definitely being frozen out, is because the guy is mean. He goes about his job. He's very cerebral. And yeah, I think these guys want the absolute bag and then some to fight him. And without that, unfortunately, he's not a big enough name, unfortunately. He's not going to draw that. The Turkish probably aren't going to fork all of that up, especially nowadays. So we could be in a situation where we have to say to Jai Opetaia, or Jai Opetaia has to say to himself, I've got to go to heavyweight instead of doing what I want to do, which is leave Cruiserweight on my own terms, not have to go there because I can't get these fights. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on his performance in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, if you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Until next time, people.